Every year, Startup Grind hosts our SG Women Leaders Month, proudly recognizing the accomplishments of successful women leaders all over the world. These women are founders, venture capitalists, engineers, executives, educators, and more who represent our community all around the world. This month's SG Women Month is proudly presented by Google for Startups and Silicon Valley Bank.
Anniversary this year, and we started with a vision of actually showing more of the startup ecosystem, which was virtually non-existent at this time in 2015. And we worked on two aspects. The first one was actually helping entrepreneurs to succeed. We had programs for that, and the second one was about the promotion of the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Luxembourg and beyond. That's also where when we use the Startup Nation baseline that everybody uses now, and we've done that for a few years. We also had a co-working space where we had a lot of different people and events going on, and we also hosted a few Startup Grinds events there.
Yeah, thank you.
That was our pleasure. It was really nice. Then a few years ago, 2 years ago exactly, we considered that the ecosystem now was really more mature, and there were a lot of new entities, new initiatives going on, and a lot of noise around the startup, which is always good. But we felt like we may be needed somewhere else. So we worked a lot on where were the new gaps, let's say, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem at large in Luxembourg. And we now are addressing actually entrepreneurs in general, not only startups. I mean, startups, yes, because we also have quite a lot of experience on that, but not only startups, also every and any entrepreneur in the pre-creation phase. So from the idea to the launch of the company. For that, we have a few 5 programs as well that are all free of charge, and we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about their idea, how to challenge them, and we also coach them. We give them expertise and trainings and such. And we also launched a bit more than 1 year ago now the Meet an Entrepreneur platform, where we actually go interview a lot of entrepreneurs. So not only those that like the 10 ones that you see in the media, but actually the real and real life faces of entrepreneurship in Luxembourg. So that could be someone who has a restaurant since a few years and they're still an entrepreneur. Also like a few startups, but a lot of industries, a lot of also growth phases, and a lot of different type of employees and size of companies, etc., etc. And we try to we break the interview into small videos with one topic per video, and we publish them on the website, and hopefully help entrepreneurs to get inspired or get a few knowledge or best practices, because it's kind of a open-hearted conversation. So the entrepreneurs talk about their failures, their successes, and the few things they did at the beginning that didn't work, or that did work, but that was more or less, not really the best side to look at, etc., etc. So yeah, it's something that we work on quite a lot, and it has a good success for now. So we're quite happy about it.
Okay, but it seems interesting because for Startup Grind also our mission and values are also to educate and to inspire. This means, and that's also to show a little bit by example. But coming a little bit back to what you have been saying, you said, okay, in the beginning you were, let's say, so it was Startup Nation. I mean, it was to grasp the, let's say so, the awareness in the broader public about what is entrepreneurship, what it is it to set up a business and run a business and so on. But Has it really changed a lot? I mean, the needs for somebody who is setting up a business or somebody who's running a business, doesn't matter the size or which vertical he or she is, has it really changed so much over the years?
You mean in Luxembourg?
Yes, mainly Luxembourg. Sorry for that. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. I think, well, there are two sides there are two ways to see it. The first one is when we started in 2015, basically nobody, just a few of us heard about what a startup is, and nobody, not a lot of them actually even considered creating one in Luxembourg, and probably Luxembourg was really not the country of choice if they wanted to create a startup. So in that sense, I think we did improve, or it did change since 5 years, and now we have a lot of more visibility on startups in Luxembourg. We also have a lot of new incubators and entities, companies, even big companies now. They are doing open innovation to work with startups. So there is more visibility. There are more tools to set up a startup. Then so that's the improvement, let's say. Okay. But then again, if you want to start a startup, you also need to, it's always the same process. So you have more people to talk to because you have more actors in the ecosystem, but you always need to start with the idea, the approach to market, the business model, Canva, etc., etc., etc. So the best practices on how the steps to create a startup didn't change much. Maybe, I guess a few new tools, but that's it. But then about promotion and visibility, and also the kind of help and coaching that you can get, and Fit for Start, and all those really great initiatives. Yeah, it did improve a lot.
But on the other hand, it's not a nasty question, but has the quality of the projects or the companies you have seen improved eventually?
Oof, the quality, I'm not sure we can judge the quality.
No, not the quality, but let's say so, the likelihood or the survivability of the companies. Because let's say so, why the question is because when you look, in the early days of Nyuko and even before Nyuko, it was really hard, as you said it yourself, to set up a business on the one hand, on the administrative side, but also on the awareness, because if you're a small company, it's difficult to get clients to trust you. And then also the, how shall I say, the evolution, the inflection point comes a little bit later than it comes today. So that's why the question is, as the companies who set up today or a few years ago or who are now active, have they according or what you see, a better chance to not survive is maybe not the right word, to develop, to advance, let's call it like that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I do think so, because again, there are two sides. Again, there are two sides to see it, but they have more opportunities to learn about the best practices, and either like the theoretical aspects of it, or also the let's say real life aspects of it by talking to entrepreneurs, going to networking events, and those kind of initiatives. So they have more background information to get inspired. And also, I think now that you see a lot of some success stories also through different through those kind of events, and Silicon Luxembourg magazine, and also if you listen to podcasts, and we have a lot of resources, you also kind of know where to go and where not to go, and also I guess you get used to the possibility to have to pivot at some point, etc. So I think, yes, I mean, with all the knowledge that we try to make available to everyone, I mean, and not just Nyuko, but all the ecosystem and the mentoring and the coaching opportunities that they do have more chances to develop, to survive and to develop, let's say.
Okay. But on the other hand, I mean, is there not a risk? Again, it's not a nasty question. Huh? Is there not a risk that what I liked about when you were talking about Nyuko is that you were taking away a little bit the startup buzz stuff? Because is there not a risk that over the last years, so many people jumped and said, yeah, it's cool, and they get a lot of support. Either is it knowledge, is it resources, or anything else, but eventually not fail or do not achieve what they would like to achieve, and then they stop. Is there not a risk with all the support we are giving that they are a little bit too much cocooned? And eventually how shall I say, to be hungry, thirsty, and the school of hard knocks that it is a little bit missing or not? It's just a question.
I mean, that's a good question. Personally, I think that's a risk, let's say, again, with all the initiatives and everybody wants a part of the cake, let's say, a startup cake. Then again, normally, if all these initiatives do their job well, they teach a lot, they do events, they help startups in a lot of different ways, but they also warn about the risks of starting a startup, and they also are normally they should be really realistic about the chances of success or failures of a startup, and that it's not, I mean, basically you don't start a startup just to be able to work 2 hours a day and then be rich for the rest of your life. And I can only speak for Nyuko, but at Nyuko, that's what we say. I mean, and not only to startups, but to every entrepreneurs, that's not like the easy way. Or maybe in a few years it will be, but the first few years at least will not be easy. And you may not, you should not start this journey if you're not really committed and focused and willing to work hard and make this a success.
You already touched upon that, okay, the awareness is now there, that also for a new business with a product or service, that it's more accessible to get clients. I mean, corporates, you mentioned the open innovation and so on. Is that something where Nyuko is assisting, eventually making a link, or some of the partners Nyuko is working with?
Regarding open innovation, yes. We started actually back a few years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. We started the Luxembourg Open Innovation Club that is now hosted at the House of Startups.
Yes.
So we work a lot in partnership with them, and they are doing a great job to also create awareness among the big companies in Luxembourg to address this kind of partnership. That is also something that in Luxembourg it doesn't exist since so long. So they do a great job on both parts. So trying to help startups get to big companies and also create awareness among big companies that working with a startup can actually be really, really beneficial.
And once, let's say, so there's an entrepreneur which has set up a business, has gone through the assistance of Nyuko, let's call it like that, and is developing well, is eventually going to the next steps, increasing his or her market share, eventually going abroad. Is that where does Nyuko more or less, maybe not stop, but hand over if somebody approaches them? Is there a clear limit, or is it more that you say, okay, but we will assist them anyway, but and then sooner or later we will introduce them to partners?
Okay, so regarding where Nyuko assists entrepreneurs, we actually stop, I mean, more or less, stop at the creation of the company. So we really focus on the pre-creation phase. And in Luxembourg, we're the only one to do that. So that's also why we have a lot of incoming requests about this phase of entrepreneurship. And then after that, I mean, let's say the creation of the company can last a few weeks, even a few months, also depending on a lot of factors, as you can guess. But then after that, usually they enter our alumni network, which is a private network where we meet regularly, and we also try to still give a few hints of expertise on very different topics that are related to, let's say, the first steps of when you after launching the company. But then after that we have a few partners in case the entrepreneur needs still assistance in one or different areas. We have a few partners that that we can refer them to. But then again, I mean, it also depends on cases, but I'm not in favor of actually, well, as you said, like having a cocoon around entrepreneurs for all the time. And at some point they also have to, like go on their own and not rely on assisting initiatives and such for the whole life of their companies.
Okay. And let's say, so where is Nyuko actually based? I mean, we have been talking what Nyuko is doing and eventually is not doing, but where are you based? I mean, except now virtually, but where can one find virtually? Let's call it like that. Physically, sorry.
Yes. Well, for now, I mean, let's say if we cut the COVID situation apart, we are actually located in the building of the House of Entrepreneurship in the Kirchberg area. That was a very logical choice because as we work a lot with a lot of different entrepreneurs, and the House of Entrepreneurship has a one-stop shop guichet where a lot of entrepreneurs come and ask questions about mostly administrative questions. But when it's about entrepreneurship, I mean, challenging the idea, etc., then we are actually just next door and can also address those clients without having to schedule a meeting or do an introductory email, etc., etc. So we work a lot in partnership with the House of Entrepreneurship, and it was only logical that we actually are just next door. Okay.
And now coming a little bit back to you, I mean, you have been, one may say, recently appointed CEO of Nyuko.
Yes.
Has that changed something in the way you are approaching Nyuko? I mean, what Nyuko was before, I mean, you have been, I should say, following Nyuko for a certain time already, and now being catapulted but put into the driving seat. Has that changed something for you, and also in the way you are looking at it?
It does, yes. I've been an employee of Nyuko since 2015, actually, just a few months after the start of the creation of the SGL. Actually, yeah, you do look at things differently when you're in the driving seat, as you said, than when you're part of the team. Even if we always had quite a flat structure, but then again, there is still a difference, let's say. And yeah, I do, and it's actually been quite almost a daily exercise to have the two different ways to look at Nyuko and at the ecosystem and the partnerships, etc. And yeah, it's actually quite an interesting exercise to see both sides, and I think it makes it more interesting even that when you have, let's say, the team point of view and the management point of view, so that you see things in two different ways, and it can help with making some tough decisions or not so tough decisions.
Yeah, exactly. But now, I mean, you have been, you became CEO, and are there any ideas or, let's say, visions you would like to share with us on that topic, or is it maybe too early? It could be that it doesn't matter.
Actually, I'm working on
exactly. Okay,
of course, a few new projects.
Yeah.
I'm also I'm, let's say, more on the geek side of the management than Nicolas Fries, who was the previous CEO. So I also want to add some let's say digital sides to our programs. I think that's probably going to be one of the main changes that will come in the next few months. And also we saw with this whole COVID situation and home working and such, and the success of the webinars and all the virtual events, that is something that actually people get used to, and sometimes even like better than actually going to places. So I really want to work on the digital side, but not like replacing any other side, but actually adding additional value to our programs. And a few other surprises that you will see coming in the next few months.
Okay, good. That's something. Yeah, I have here one or the other question from the chat. One of the questions is relating to more e-commerce projects. And the question is, if you have a specific program for projects in the e-commerce area, or and then I extend the question a little bit, or do you approach any project the same, and then you look according to the vertical who could be the expert or the experts to assist?
So our programs are divided into the different phases of the creation. We have the ideation, then we have basically the test on the market test, and then the launching phase, let's say so. Plus we have one which is dedicated to social entrepreneurs, which is quite specific. So we don't have a program that is dedicated to a very specific industry. Because we think that for most of the industries, actually the basics, like let's say the entrepreneurial skills that you need to create a company, don't change that much for most of the industries. And we want to cover the most. I mean, we want to be able to assist the many entrepreneurs. And then again, regarding, I mean, if the project is very specific to an industry or an expertise, etc., we also, each of the members of the team have one or several expertise that they can help with, and we also have partners and professional experts that we can rely on if needed. We also have a partnership with the host of training, if there is specific training, etc. So yeah, we still try to address the most of the specific questions or challenges that entrepreneurs have. We try our best actually to help them in one way or another, but our programs are divided into the phases.
In the phases and not vertical. Another question is, I just read it aloud, and then we can go. As you provide services to becoming entrepreneurs, do you also have some kind of a guide for becoming entrepreneurs related, for example, to company management, accounting obligations in Luxembourg, costs, and explain all the law they have to follow, VAT, and so on? And in fact, the question is, if yes, where can the attendee find it?
Oh, okay. So if it's relating to administrative stuff, we actually redirect usually people to the House of Entrepreneurship. We are really experts, real experts into the fields, and as it's usually very, very specific points and like the small lines that usually nobody reads. They are better experts at this than us, so we just redirect everyone with to them, and so that we make sure that they actually have the best advice they could get. Okay,
great. So time is a little bit running. So the last question to you is, if you could, let's say, so if there's this question, okay, if you were Google, if you were Croesus and so on, if you had the power, if you have superpowers, let's call it like that, what would be something you would like to aim for? I mean, for Nyuko or the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Luxembourg also. What is something where you would say, okay, that would be great if it would be there, or if we would achieve that in a few months, a few years, and so on? Is there something where you would say that would be nice?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think if I had superpowers, I would first invent teletransportation, because that's just super cool. Then again, regarding the local ecosystem, actually, if we're being serious about it, I think we have a lot of great assets in the local ecosystem happening right now, and we have a lot of nice projects going on. The thing is, sometimes the nice projects, they actually don't really search for initiatives or entities that could help them, and they may not succeed in the let's say the fastest or the best way possible. It adds some burden to do it alone, and that's one thing. And the second thing is also, like, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that seek help but actually then don't listen to it.
Exactly. Okay.
So that would be the two issues I would address if I had superpowers.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So thank you. It was a pleasure to have the fireside chat with you, and wishing also all the best in developing Nyuko as you would like to have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Every year, Startup Grind hosts our SG Women Leaders Month, proudly recognizing the accomplishments of successful women leaders all over the world. These women are founders, venture capitalists, engineers, executives, educators, and more who represent our community all around the world. This month's SG Women Month is proudly presented by Google for Startups and Silicon Valley Bank.